Take the Weight Out of Weight Loss podcast with your host, Natasha D'Souza. Here we'll be discussing the challenges and strategies for managing emotional eating and achieving sustainable weight loss. Join us as we explore the science and psychology behind emotional eating and weight loss while learning how to make lasting changes in your life. Hello. I have been missing for quite some time. I'm actually quite embarrassed for how long I've been missing, so my apologies for that. But along with the hectic schedule came the flu, which took me by surprise. I mean, I've had the flu before, don't get me wrong. This time around, though, it took the wind out of me. Literally, I was out of commission for a good 3 to 4 days, and getting back into the swing of things was rough. I'm not even gonna lie, it was absolutely rough. Anyways, enough about me. Today we're going to be discussing a very controversial topic at the moment. Liked by some, not liked by others, overused by some, not tried out by some. I'm talking about weight loss injections. In particular, Saxenda, Wegovy, Ozempic, Mounjaro. I know this has been quite a hot topic for the moment, and I think it would be best if we A, address what they're actually used for, B, if they're beneficial, C, what are the outcomes, and D, if it's something that is sustainable. So let's get into it. Now, I'm not here to shame or blame, but actually list out the positives and negatives to consider before embarking on the weight loss injection journey. I'm going to be sharing with you personal experience with clients' experiences, what I've heard through the grapevine, and doctors' input on what their thoughts are behind these weight loss injections. Now, whether or not people should use weight loss injections depends on their individual situation. It is important to discuss the potential risks and benefits with a doctor before starting not just injections, but any weight loss program. Now, it's important to note that when these injections first came out, Mounjaro, Ozempic, Wegovy, Saxenda, they were all initially created for people struggling with type 2 diabetes. That was the initial intention for these injections. Somewhere along the line, FDA, along with doctors around the world, started noticing the significant weight loss that people were experiencing while on these injections. Nonetheless, at about 2022, January, February, is when they were officially approved by the FDA for weight loss as well. Not to get too sciencey, but Ozempic and Wegovy belong to a class of drugs called glucagon-like peptide 1 GLP-1 agonists. GLP-1 is naturally produced in the intestines and sends satiety signals to the brain, so the feeling of fullness. These medications induce weight loss because they act like GLP-1 in the body and are able to suppress your appetite. They work by helping the body release stored fat and reducing hunger, and it can also help reduce the risk of heart attack and stroke in those struggling with obesity. Now, before I get into the positives and negatives about using these injections, you're probably thinking, Natasha, you're an emotional eating, binge eating, and weight loss coach. What are you doing on here talking about weight loss injections? In all honesty, when I first heard about these injections, I thought to myself, oh wow, here we go again. Here we go again. Another gimmick in the market that is going to allow people to believe that this is the solution, the long-term solution. Needless to say, I thought to myself that a moment a client or a potential client were to go on these injections, my services would no longer be required. But man, was I wrong. Man, was I wrong. I very quickly realized that even with the presence of these injections in the market, I was needed now more than ever. Because while these injections worked very effectively in helping people lose weight, it still did not allow them the ability to learn good eating habits, identify their future self, create a pathway that they can maintain sustainable weight loss, right? Because what the studies have also shown that while people were losing weight on these injections, there were also a huge number of them gaining the weight back. And that is a cause for concern. For someone that has been on these injections long enough, got to their goal weight, and now going back to their old eating habits, their old way of living, that's a struggle. That's a huge, huge struggle. Not to mention the cost of these injections. These bad boys are not cheap. Okay, we're not talking $20 or 100 dirhams over the counter medication. No, we're talking anywhere between 350 to $900 on the minimum. On the minimum. Okay, and that's if you are looking to be on this for about 3 to 6 months. Now, this is where I step in, right? Because while we have people on these injections, what the injection actually does is causes you feelings of nausea, causes you feelings of tiredness, feelings of meh, I could not eat. I don't need to eat. I don't feel like eating. So your overall calorie consumption is anywhere between 1,000, 1,200, which is well in a deficit for you to continue losing weight. Where the problem arises, as I mentioned, is the eating habits. Because once you get off the injections, those need and wants to eat, those hardcore cravings, those binges, those overeating episodes, they will come back. They will come back. So if you are going to get on these injections, that is something you need to keep in mind, that I am taking a faster route. I am taking a route that will inhibit me from eating. But what I need to realize is that in the long term, if I do not want to be on these injections forever, I need to learn to become the person I want to be today. Over the past year, I've been with several clients that have been on and off with these injections, telling me their stories, their experiences, learning about how they feel a week into the injections, learning about how they feel after the injections. I've learned so much from clients' experiences that I've come up with a plan for anyone on these injections that are points to consider, important points to consider if this is a path you are willing to take. The first one, and the one I deem as the most important, is protein intake. Protein intake to maintain satiety and ensure you're not racking up those calories on those days that we feel hungrier. Now, with these injections, you're going to have days that you have bad headaches, you have nausea, you have vomiting, but you also have days leading up to when you have to retake your injection that you get extremely hungry. Extremely hungry. So ensure that your protein is something that you're tracking. Ensure that protein is always on your mind if you are in the mood to eat prior to any other component that you put into your plate. This is something I harp with each and every client of mine that decides to go on this journey, because what you want is to prevent muscle loss. What you want is to ensure that just because you have a few days leading up to your next dose, you're not overeating, you're not taking advantage of that time to binge eat, but rather you're maximizing your money and your time's worth on this injection. Next, with rapid weight loss comes loss of minerals. So it's very, very important for you to include vitamins on a daily basis to supplement for any minerals lost throughout the process. Okay, and usually what we tend to see is hair loss, brittle nails. These are things we want to avoid. These are things we should be factoring in on a daily basis. So ensure you're taking those multivitamins. That being said, when you embark on this journey, and I'm hoping you're doing this at the right way, right? I'm really hoping you're doing that, because if you're doing it the right way, your doctor should have ideally had a blood test done before he puts you on or she puts you on these medications. Now, on your blood test, you should be able to determine any deficiencies that probably came up prior to you starting your weight loss injection journey, and ensure you're supplementing for any potential minerals lost in the future. Third, the scale, the weighing scale. I laugh because everyone's relationship is so different with the scale. Some people hate it, some people love it, some people weigh in every day, some people weigh in once a month, some people couldn't give a crap about it. Yeah. But When you're specifically on this weight loss journey with these medications, I would advise you to have two weigh in days. One on the day that you're actually injecting yourself, and one somewhere midweek. Why am I suggesting 2 days? Is because the days leading up to your injection tend to be your most hungriest days. Hence, you're eating more, you're craving more, you might have some more sugar, which means your water retention will be higher. So you don't want to step on the scale on that day that you're injecting yourself and be shocked. Look back and say, my money is literally going down the drain when I'm supposed to be weighing less. So keep that in mind. Have another day that you weigh yourself in, maybe 4 to 5 days after your injection, and that will be a good prediction of where your weight's going and if these injections are actually working in your favor. Last but not the least, think about the future you. This is the most relevant that I would say anyone needs to look into while on these medications. Think of the life you want to create for yourself after the use of these injections. And don't just think, write it out. Write out the person you want to become. Start creating the eating habits. Start talking about the life you want to live, whether it involves more movement, whether it involves you cooking more home cooked meals. And once you do that, start creating those habits today to mimic that life. Train your brain for the future you today. Do not wait. I repeat, do not wait till you're done with these injections to become the future you. Because that's where the problem arises. That's when people regain their weight back. That's when people go back to struggling with food. That's when people go back to their binge eating episodes because they didn't plan for the future you while on the journey. And you know what? It's quite easy to put the future you to the side because you're not really thinking about food. It seems really easy at the moment. The weight's dropping. So why do I need to factor that in today? But trust me when I tell you the number of times I have seen people struggling with their weight after these injections, the number of times I have seen people put on all, if not more, of their weight after these injections, I only tell myself and I tell them if this would have been addressed earlier along on the journey, you probably wouldn't have been here today. So make sure you factor in the future you and start training your brain for the future you today. All right, folks, that's all for me as far as these weight loss injections and medications are concerned. As I said in the very beginning, I'm not here to name, blame, or shame anyone that decides to embark on this journey, but rather support you and remind you that no matter what journey you decide to take, please ensure to continue addressing your eating habits. Please ensure that you are creating a pathway that leads you to sustain the weight loss no matter what journey you decide to take. Because at the end of this journey, you need to come out a better person. You need to have learned to create a life that you can sustain long term, sustainable weight loss. Now, just to give you a little snippet, I'm going to have one of my clients on who wishes to remain anonymous and tell us a little bit about her struggles with food, her weight loss journey, her weight regain, and her current journey on the weight loss injection Mounjaro. All right, so I am going to be introducing my client who would like to be kept anonymous due to the nature of this call. Hi, client A. How are you
Hello.
today?
I'm good.
Are you ready, comfortable? Can we go through the questions on your journey with Mounjaro currently?
Yes, for sure.
Perfect. Okay, so first question is if you want to just talk to us a little bit about your relationship with food before we start going into all the great details, let's say.
Yes, definitely. So, my relationship with food, I've had a not a really good relationship with food, I would say, since um, I was a young child. So I was always a chubby kid growing up to my teenage years and until now. So I developed, I was very overweight at some point. I always struggled with eating. I used it as a friend, as something that I would go to when I'm happy, sad, or whatever I'm feeling. And food is something that's constantly on my mind, that I think of all the time, and it's always like, what's my next meal gonna be? So yeah, that's mainly my relationship with food, a very long history.
Thank you for sharing that. And what made you decide to start taking Manjaro? When was that decision, and what made you decide?
So what made me decide is basically because you know me, you know that I lost weight and gained it all back again, and I've been struggling a lot. I felt like I needed to get to this point where I have a small push or kick that helps that will help me um, start losing the weight again, along with other things. So my decision to start this was not doing this as an only solution for me, because I had surgery done before and I gained all the way back. So I know that any one thing is not like a permanent solution. It's something that I have to do along other things, and this will help me. So my decision to start it was just having something that's gonna push me and see the numbers go on the scale going down a little bit quicker, to help me get back on track and lose the weight again.
Great. And how has the journey been so far?
So far, it's been great.
Would you
I'm
like to
enjoying it
share to
in the
everyone how much you've lost so far? How many kilos?
so almost 4 weeks and almost 4 kilos. So I would say it's like a kilo per week. Hoping that it's gonna stay this way, but I'm really happy with the way that results are showing so far. Happy with the numbers coming down, and most of all, happy that food is not on my mind constantly 24/7. I think this is like more makes me happier than the number on the scale, obviously, that it helps. But yeah, I'm very happy so far.
Great. And so now I know we've been working together for some time, and we've been working on your habits. We've been working on, how you view, not only how you view food, but how you view yourself as well. So do you want to kind of take us through some of the key eating habits or personal habits you learned about yourself while on this journey?
So the eating habit that I learned on this journey and that I had no idea about from before is that it's linked to something. So I used to say at the beginning of our call, I ate this because I was angry and a lot of things behind it. But working with you, there was a lot of going on the why, what this anger came from, that helped me analyze and taught me to start analyzing the reason behind it, even if it's happiness, like what it could be from, just analyzing for a purpose of knowing in the future if there is a way to flip the switch, or try to treat it differently. Um, so this is why I think one of the reasons is I'm continuing everything in parallel, because obviously, like I said, I lost the weight before and gained it back from the surgery, but it's all the mental work and these exercises, that the tools that I didn't have the first time, that I'm trying to keep everything together to make it work this time. So obviously the Mounjaro is helping me physically with the hunger itself, but everything that's related to mentally, the habits, my relationship with food, my emotions with it, I need to work on in parallel, so that when I decide to stop the injections or when my journey in terms of weight loss is over, I have these habits built already, and I don't start them after, when it could be not too late, but it could reverse the process, which I don't want to happen again.
Amazing. Thank you so much for being so honest about not just your current journey, but your past journey as well. And looking forward to our calls together. And can we bring you back on once you're close to the end of the journey?
Yeah, for sure.
And then you can tell everyone
I'd
your
love to.
experience, and maybe we can share some before and after pictures as well.
Yeah, hopefully.
Perfect. Thank you so much. Thank you for joining us on the Take the Weight Out of Weight Loss podcast. We hope you found the information and strategies discussed helpful on your journey with emotional eating, binge eating, and weight loss. Stay tuned for next week's episode where we will be discussing dating and weight loss. See you next week.